Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, for holding this meeting. I think it's an insult to the committee that TSA would not send the acting administrator to this panel with the due notice. This is a very important oversight hearing. We spend about $7 billion a year now on TSA's activities. And if anyone takes time to read this report, we're going to hear from John Roth in a few minutes, the Inspector General, who produced this report. But every member of Congress and people throughout the country should read this report. This report is an indictment of the failure of TSA, not just in one area, but in almost every one of their functions. It's supposed to be a multi-tiered transportation security system they set up, and in every aspect, you just glance through the report. Everything from passenger baggage screening and passenger screening, one indictment after another on systems to provide access for people who don't pose a risk. And we all support TSA PreCheck. They, in fact, and it's designed to expedite passengers who don't pose a risk. In fact, we find instances in which they fail to connect the dots and found a passenger who was a convicted terrorist, Sarah Jane Olson, this is a press report, who went through TSA. Their system failed to find these people. The most important thing is we're trying to do is find people who pose a risk. The TSA agent who saw her go through actually identified her because she was such a well-known terrorist from her picture. And then what was even more astounding is he went to a superior and he actually authorized the expediting of a terrorist through the system. This is an outrageous history. I just, and I have to say, the chairman is not Jason come lately. If you read further in the report, they talk about equipment purchases and the failure of buying. You have to have the best technology when someone comes through, not just an expedited system, but to see what they have that poses a risk, whether it's arms or now explosives and other devices that might harm us. Back in 2009, the chairman introduced legislation to restrict the purchase of some equipment that actually didn't do the job. And this is a press account back then, and he was thwarted. They ended up buying equipment, and read the report, an indictment of buying billions of dollars worth of equipment that failed. They bought puffers that failed. They bought this rapid scan equipment, and it's interesting, the history of it is also interesting that Linda Daschle represented one company, people might be familiar with that name, L3, and then Rapid Scan, which the chairman had raised some questions about privacy issues and not using it. They went ahead and they split the contract, a $500 million contract between the two competing lobbyists. Then $500 million for the equipment's one thing, then it costs another quarter of a billion per set of equipment to install the stuff. But this is an indictment of even the remaining equipment. Now, the rapid scan the chairman had raised questions about had to be taken out. Had to be taken out. But then on top of that, this report says the equipment they have, they can't maintain. They don't know whether it works or not, and they don't have people properly trained to run the equipment. This is a very sad day, and I can see why TSA did not want to show up today. There's 61,000 employees. They have 15,000 administrators because we have a cap of 46,000 screeners. And this whole report outlines in each area training, recruitment, acquisition of equipment, how they failed. I see why that seat is empty today, and TSA would not show their face to this committee today. I yield back.